And today we are gonna be reading the 5th part of the Quran. Yes. Nice. Okay. Let me close this so you know the text is showing. I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me for that. Connect my phone. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5th chapter of the Quran, 5th day of Ramadan, and it's 3:31 a.m. right now, almost 1 hour and 13 minutes to Fajr prayer. So we're gonna try, and make it concise this time, keep it under an hour, so I have some time to drink some water by the end. So let's start and do that right away. And أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والمحصنات من النساء إلا ما ملكت أيمانكم كتاب الله عليكم وأحل لكم ما وراء ذلكم أن تبتغوا بأموالكم محصنين غير مسافحين فما استمتعتم به منهن فآتوهن أجورهن فريضة ولا جناح عليكم فيما تراضيتم به من بعد الفريضة إن الله كان عليما حكيما ومن لم يستطع منكم طولا أن ينكح المحصنات المؤمنات فمما ملكت أيمانكم من فتياتكم المؤمنات والله أعلم بإيمانكم بعضكم من بعض فانكحوهن بإذن أهلهن وآتوهن أجورهن محصنات غير مسافحات ولا متخذات أخدان فإذا أحصن فإن أتين بفاحشة فعليهن نصف ما على المحصنات من العذاب ذلك لمن خشي العنة منكم وأن تصبروا خير لكم والله غفور رحيم يريد الله ليبين لكم ويهديكم سنن الذين من قبلكم ويتوب عليكم والله عليم حكيم والله يريد أن يتوب عليكم ويريد الذين يتبعون الشهوات أن تميلوا ميلا عظيما يريد الله أن يخفف عنكم وخلق الإنسان ضعيفا يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل إلا أن تكون تجارة عن تراض منكم ولا تقتلوا أنفسكم إن الله كان بكم رحيما ومن يفعل ذلك عدوانا وظلما فسوف نصليه نارا وكان ذلك على الله يسيرا إن تجتنبوا كبائر ما تنهون عنه نكفر عنكم سيئاتكم وندخلكم مدخلا كريما ولا تتمنوا ما فضل الله به بعضكم على بعض للرجال نصيب مما اكتسبوا وللنساء نصيب مما اكتسبن واسألوا الله من فضله إن الله كان بكل شيء عليما ولكل جعلنا موالي مما ترك الوالدان والأقربون والذين عقدت أيمانكم فآتوهم نصيبهم إن الله كان على كل شيء شهيدا الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض وبما أنفقوا من أموالهم فالصالحات قانتات حافظات للغيب بما حفظ الله واللاتي تخافون نشوزهن فعظوهن واهجروهن في المضاجع واضربوهن فإن أطعنكم فلا تبغوا عليهن سبيلا إن الله كان عليا كبيرا. So a little bit about what I was reading up till now. So here we are reading in the fifth chapter of the Quran, 4th surah of the Quran, and it's called An-Nisa, which translate to women. So it's a big surah, a big part, a big chapter in the Quran. And the Quran doesn't only talk about women in this surah here, but it's dedicated for them, about how we deal with them, how we treat them, how we live with them, how we make right to them, and why. Again, as I said, everything builds on itself. We started by finding out, alright, we exist in this universe and we need to measure everything. That's how we are as humans. 2, there must be a God. We can't control anything, so what do we do with that inability to control anything? We worship God, and this adjusts our compass, and now we are on a path. Okay, now we understand that there is a message, and that message is a religion, and religion is Islam, and it's 2 parts. It's 2 faces for the same coins. For the same coin, sorry. 1 is the Islam for the individual. 2 is the Islam for society. They coexist with each other. You can be a Muslim in a non-Muslim society, and you can live the right life. And a society can actually be Muslim. They can follow the traditions and laws and concepts of Islam, even if they didn't know about Islam or anything, because, if they do the right thing, they will find themselves applying and they wouldn't know that until someone comes and tells me, yo, you know that what you're doing right now, that's in Islam. And they will say, yo, we spent years and years trying to get to the most optimal way ever to, live our lives, and this is how we ended up. And a Muslim person will show up and tell them, yeah, we've been doing that for millennia now. And that happened with many things, and actually, many things with hygiene and our routine and our food, because as I said, Islam is like the blood in the human body. It goes into everything, every minute detail. There is a way to do it in Islam. So, of course, there is a whole lot of details and concepts and philosophies and ideas about how we live with women and why. Here's the thing again. In a Muslim society, everything is in its right place. It's supposed, everything in its place, whether it's right place or wrong place. If you're a non-Muslim, you will be trying to, judge and think about everything and asking, why is it that way? But let's assume that you're reading a verse like this one, and you've seen that وَاضْرِبُهُنَّ. And here, if we read the translation, because I'm sure that someone someday might reach this verse here or any other verse, and they'll try to pick some word and make a whole issue out of it, out of the context. So let's read it and let's try to put it in a context. Men are the caretakers of women, as men have been provisioned by Allah over women and tasked with supporting them financially, and righteous women are devoutly obedient and when alone protective of what Allah has entrusted them with. And if you sense ill conduct from your women, advise them. First, if they persist, do not share their beds, but if they still persist, then discipline them gently. But if they change their ways, do not be unjust to them. Surely Allah is Most High, All Great. Out of context, this here can cause a whole lot of anger for any sane or rational person. I understand. And any sane Muslim person will understand that. But this verse cannot be taken out of context. Again, you cannot try to force your ideas on a society that doesn't share the whole big picture of your religion. So what is the context here? In a Muslim society, men are not, just doing whatever they want to do. You can't be a lazy person in a Muslim society. You simply can't. It's not like someone is gonna come and force you out of bed, but the whole society around you, if you miss a prayer in the masjid, for example, they're not gonna hit you, but they're gonna be asking you, why? And in a non-Muslim society, let's say, it's not a liberal society, but let's say in a society that doesn't care about anything, but whatever they care about. Let me again try to make that as clear as possible here. Every society on this earth currently have something they care about. If you have that thing, you're free to do whatever. Alright? So, in USA, if I have money, I'm free to do whatever. If you don't believe me, look on the internet. It's USA and generally the internet currently. So let's take some influencers, for example. An influencer woman or girl who is literally selling her shit for money, and people are buying. And there are those who are defending that whole thing, saying, yeah, why are you angry about that, bro? She's free to do whatever. They're free to do whatever with their money. And because why? Why is everyone defending the freedom here? Because money is being exchanged. And what's money? It's the mean. It's the thing that everything is measured with and by right now. And if you have the money, you're free. You're literally free to do whatever, even if it's breaking the law, as long as you pay the fines. Again, what are fines? They're simply the price for some crimes, because the wealthy can commit those crimes. Yeah? But if you don't have the money, if you live in a society currently and you don't have the money, no one will even think twice about blaming you. Bro, if you don't have the money, it's on you. Why you don't have the money? You're capable, you have the internet, you have your own body. Go work, go plant, go do whatever. Come on, be an influencer. Alright? Why? Because you're being measured by your own money. If you've actually spent 10 years studying philosophy, studying literature, studying whatever field that you're studying, but you haven't found someone to finance your research, you are gonna be blamed. Yeah? Again, because society right now measures one thing and one thing only, and it's money. This society that we're living in, that measure everything with money, is our society currently. And look around. Is it right? Is it sane? Is it rational? Is it logical? Exactly. Now, let's try to rewrite the structure here, and think about a society that actually doesn't care about how much you have in your pocket. Because in that society that we're talking about, wealth, it's not a communist society. No. Communism is, again, it's a freakish mutant of some ideal. All right. Any mutation on the ideal on the utopia itself isn't real. Any mutant out of utopia is a much uglier mutant. Now, think about a society that wealth exists in it, but everyone is encouraged to spend as much as possible to help everyone around them. Because actually money isn't the thing that they care about at all. And that existed. So there was a very prominent companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and one day he heard the Prophet talking about how the earth that we're living in right now is just a temporary plane, and anyone who's gonna look around will understand that. No matter how many food you're gonna eat, you're gonna still feel satisfied, and food is not gonna taste anything anymore, and everything that we've been talking about. So the thing that you really wanna do with your wealth right now is to try to invest it after you die. Invest it now so you can find the greater prize when you meet God, when you meet Allah. So that's what he did. He had a big garden and he just gave it away for someone who needed it. And went to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, went to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam and told him. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam told him, good trade. Yeah, that's it. You've actually, it's as if he made, as if he gained something amazing, or traded stocks, or done something amazing right now, and he gained some amazing amount of wealth, And the Prophet ﷺ told him, yeah, well done, that's it. Why? Because money wasn't the thing that was being measured back then. Now, in that society where wealth and money is not the thing that measures your worth, what is it that you are worth? How do you measure your own worth? By your contribution. So, even if you were the wealthiest person in that society that we are talking about, if you're lazy, if you're not contributing, if you're not doing the thing that actually you are measured with, and that thing, by the way, what you are measured with is the thing that we've been talking about since the start of Ramadan for the past 5 days, which is how you yourself measure everything. Again, we've said that as we are walking through life, we measure everything. And how we measure and how we should be measured should not be about money, about wealth, about beauty, about status, about... No. It should be about real value. That's the whole question here. This is why, in that society that we're talking about, your value determines your worth. Your value, your contribution, your measure as a human being, not your wealth, not your status, not your power, not all of that. Now, in such society, the woman has absolute right to pick any man she likes. Any man can go and try to, ask a woman to marry him, and she can refuse. And no one will even try to force her. She is totally free. But if she accepts that man, she accepts him as the man with his part in that society right now. He's not measured by his wealth. He's not measured by his status, by his power. No. He is measured by what he measures. It's a society that values value more than anything. In that society, the man is trying to uphold his woman, his companion, to those standards, and she is trying to uphold him to those standards as well. And while we're reading the Quran, you will find many verses talking about how the woman guides her own husband, and the husband guides his own woman, or his own wife. This verse here is talking about that, exactly that. It's not about if you find your woman, talking to her friends in a manner that you don't like, then you can go and hit her. No. It's all about the structure of that society. Now, what's the difference between a man and a woman? Currently, if in the society that we're living in right now, it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. Even a simple question like, what makes a woman? A woman, it can't be answered right now in woke societies and biologically versus non-biologically and all of that, and transgenders and all of that. Because it's chaos. But let's make it as simple as possible. What makes a man and what makes a woman? It's their life. A man leads a man's life because of how he was biologically created, and a woman leads a woman's life because of how she was biologically created. If you try to swap those roles, it's like... Well, should I use a gaming metaphor here? It's like trying to build a tank as a mage, or to build a mage as a tank. It doesn't always work. To build a mage, a carry as a tank, or to build a carry as a... or to build a tank as a carry, it doesn't always work. And if it worked once or twice, those are not the norms, those are not the rule here. Alright? So, what if they wanna do that? What if a man wants to, live as a woman, or a woman wants to live as a man? Yeah, they can do whatever they want. Again, if it's there in the society that doesn't care. But if it is in the society that cares, I need you to imagine the peer pressure. The concept of peer pressure itself. No one will force you. But right now, can you live in New York, for example, without being without, getting, 60K a year at least? if you're getting less than 60K a year, at least in New York, you're considered a homeless person. Yeah? Well, you're gonna be living with roommates and stuff like that, but let's say maybe less than that. Less than 30K a year. You're a homeless person. You can't find rent or any place in New York with that amount, with that sort of money. Why? Because it's society. It's the same. You can't live in a real Muslim society if you, in yourself, don't see or measure or have the same values like everyone else. You can absolutely live like that anywhere else. You're free to do that. Try. But now the question, what makes a person wants to do anything? Two things. It's your own psyche and whatever you see around you. You can never dream about being a footballer if you've never seen a game of football before. It's as simple as that. You can never grow up and dream and say that my absolute dream in this whole wide world is to be the best basketball player ever if you've never seen a game of basketball. It's the same. You can't stand on a stage and say, come on, we need to have the freedom to say we wanna be footballers and basketball players. That doesn't mean anything, because if you've never seen football or basketball, you wouldn't have that dream. And those are man-made things. And if you live your life thinking that this is what you wanna do with your life, please think again. Think again. You didn't get this life so you can follow and worship a man or something that was man-made. I am not saying don't be a footballer or a basketball player. Please do that. Spend 24 hours doing that. As you can see, I spend more than 10 hours a day playing video games. But, Assalamu alaikum, do you have any words for brothers struggling with addiction, trying to convert to Islam? Oh, hi. How are you? Well, okay. Hi, welcome first. My name is Islam. This is my real name. And I understand that this is... Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the follow. All right. So, all right, let's try to, sort our thoughts and ideas. Addiction is a big umbrella. It's a big word. I don't know what kind of addiction you're talking about. If it's, chemical addiction, it needs to be treated chemically. Unless you have some amazing willpower, you can't treat chemical addiction with just abstaining and going cold turkey. It's real tough. So let's keep that in mind. If it's something like porn addiction, if it's something like sex addiction, or anything that is not at its first place a chemical addiction, or it's a psychological addiction, then yeah, that can be dealt with if you cigarettes, but it's way more behavior addiction. All right, understood. So what I was talking about here is how, and because your question is two parts. Number one is about addiction. Number two is about converting to Islam. They, yes, can be both dealt with at the same time. And yes, converting to Islam might have in it the same ideals and the same thoughts that can help you get over your addiction. But by all means, you can get over your addiction without converting to Islam. All right, you can be the healthiest person and give up your addiction and live an amazing life without converting to Islam. Converting to Islam gives you that, and that doesn't mean that all Muslims don't smoke cigarettes or aren't addicts. No. If they do it right, they should be able, and they can actually do that, and it's done many times and many ways. So let's start about the routines of your life right now. Whatever you're doing with your life right now, it needs to be changed. Don't change all your life. No, we don't change. We don't get changed until we change something in ourselves. That's what and we're gonna read that verse while we're reading the Quran actually. So you need to think right now what you're doing with your life, that you get to a certain point that you feel, I just need that cigarette. So I'm gonna only talk about my experience. I don't know about your experience or your life. I used to be under a whole lot of stress in my line of work. I own two companies. I deal a lot with e-commerce and media and production and all of that. And when I was dealing with that kind of stress, I got addicted to sweets and video games and anime, especially with my studies. I'm an engineer. So I tried to struggle with that a whole lot of my life, and I found that I can only change when I change the routines that I was doing in my life. So I started to get away from all of those stresses, and yeah, I had to give up a lot of money from some things that I used to work on. I had to give up a whole lot of dreams. I used to chase many dreams and work and academia and stuff like that, but I wasn't suited for them. Only when I got away from that and got to a certain place where I understood that I'm actually content with understanding myself first. That adjusted something in my brain. When I got back to those lines of work and those studies, I was actually able to do them without feeling the stress that led me to my addiction. Any addiction is to do two things. One, run away from pain. Two, chase dopamine. That's any addiction, especially cigarettes because of the nicotine and the tar and all of that, and the smoke and the experience and chemically it relaxes you. Cigarettes again is a chemical addiction, as is a behavioral addiction. It's both. So you can't. It's extremely tough to deal with cigarette addiction by willpower alone. It can be done, but as with going to the gym or being an athlete or anything like that, it can be done by willpower. But not everyone is equipped to do that. We are born with a certain amount of willpower. We can train it, and we can get it to be as weak as hell also. That's lovely for you. Have you always been Muslim, or it was something that you converted? No, I was born a Muslim. I am Egyptian. I was born a Muslim. I have studied multiple things in life, religions and philosophies and stuff like that, but I've never converted away from Islam. I've always been a Muslim, but I keep studying Islam more and more. And this year, what I'm doing right now was something that I planned for 3 months ago or something, to stream video games and share part of my day daily, especially in Ramadan right now, where I read Quran and explain my thoughts about the Quran. So that's what I'm doing right now. So addiction is only a part of my problem. I feel like I need Allah in my life. I don't really can't explain this feeling, but I need some spiritual enlightenment. Well, that's what I was talking about in the past 5 days. So let me recap what I've said in the past 5 days and why I'm reading Quran and what's all of that. Life doesn't make any sense for me at all as it is. I am considerably wealthy compared to my peers because I am an engineer. I have worked in many lines that blessed me with wealth, alhamdulillah, thanks God. And that didn't give me anything. And prior to that, I didn't have any wealth or anything. I used to, think that I'll never be able to own a laptop, for example. I used to have a shitty PC, and that was what I worked on back then. So I'm just trying to give you a context here of my life. So when I actually became wealthy and traveled all over the world, I live between Dubai and Egypt most of the time, and I've seen the best that this life can offer. I found that many of the things that I've lived my life thinking those were the North Stars that I am trying to follow, that wasn't it. I got there and I was sitting in the best hotels in the world, best restaurants in the world, and I felt that something wasn't right. And back then, when I was poor, when I didn't have anything, I used to always feel also uneasy. Something isn't there. I got married. I got success in my businesses. I got accomplishments. And I'm just trying to give context here, not trying to brag, I swear. But I went back to my studies, to my religion, to Islam, and try to understand. All right, I went to a certain place where I was depressed or close to depression, because the more I've seen of the behind the scenes in the world, when you peek behind the curtains, so especially with money, you start to see behind the curtains. Once you get free from the 9 to 5, you start to see, oh wow, So this is how wealth works. This is how the gears of this world that we're living right now actually works. You see the power mechanics of the world. You see the political mechanics of the world. I felt like, no, something needs to make sense. And that got me to study a lot. And in my studies, I found that, yeah, without religion, there is no good or bad. If you forego or don't think about the concept of God or religion by itself, this life doesn't have any good or bad. Actually, if you don't have religion, you should just say goodbye. All right, I'm gonna be a monk or something. If you don't want to career yourself, you're gonna be a monk living on a mountain somewhere, which I wanted to do. I wanted to buy a farm and live in seclusion. That was 6 years ago or something. Then I started to understand, no, this universe that we're living in, if you think about religion and you really start to study it, you can see a little bit of the whole picture and understand, there is wisdom to how it is God created the earth. I've worked 2 years in epigenetics and microbiology. So, and I am an engineer, communications and electronics engineer. So I studied a lot of physics, a lot of science, a lot of biology. And that can't happen by just evolution. That can't happen by chance. It can't. No sane human being, no matter how much they've studied philosophy, anyone who studied any sort of science for a long period of time can understand something is there. The question is not if there is or there isn't. No. The question is, what is it? Here, I was blessed. I got something that many of those who struggle with those sort of questions didn't have. I was born a Muslim. So I have been studying the answers since I was a child, but I didn't understand them until I just got later in life and I was older. So that Quran that I'm reading right now, it's the Quran. I've been reading the Quran since I was a child, since I was 7 years old. My dad used to read the Quran and we were sitting around him, and I've heard and read those verses numerous amount of times. I'm not gonna say countless. But only when I got back and started actually to understand them, I understood, oh yeah, okay, so those are the answers. Every question I ever had, I had the answer right in front of my eyes. Only then, it all connected in my brain. So, if you are thinking about that, this for a Muslim person, this is the highest honor ever. This is actually the highest honor, the highest, it's the highest purpose in life if you can guide someone else to Islam. No one can force anyone, but if you do that, if you were the reason to do that, this consider, okay, you've done it. Okay, now you can retire and you've done it. You've made it, bro. So, of course, I'll be happy to do that. But because I understand how big something like that is and how complex something like that is, I can't just offer my service and say, yeah, I'm up for it, I'm the one to do it. No, I'm telling you, I am here. I'll try to be as much help as I can. But if at any point you feel like I'm not giving you the answers that you're looking for, that doesn't mean that the answer isn't here. No, it just means that I'm not the one who is able to give you that answer. From that whole religion, that whole way of life. I can say the only thing that kept me alive during my depression has been studies. I'm a computer scientist, I understand that. I love to study and learn new things, but I think now is the time for spiritual studies. I think that's my calling for now. I've said something like that, something similar like that actually today, which is anyone who is a computer scientist by default means that you are a logical person, that you are thinking in terms of logic. I've studied programming for a long time. We share a similar background here. So I already can see where you're coming from logic-wise. And yes, especially now, anyone with that muscle in their head, or that ability in their head to think logically, can feel the need for something real, something more than just that illusion that we're living in. And again, yes, Islam is the religion. So I've studied multiple, not all of the, because religion, Islam tells the whole story, by the way. As I was reading Quran, I said, I am a Kardicist spirit test. I don't know what that is. Don't know if I will know a religion outside Brazil, where I'm from. I'm honored to actually be talking to you right now, but I don't know exactly that here. I can say that I've studied a little bit of Christianity. I studied a little bit of Judaism. I studied a whole lot actually of meditation and Buddhism. And Buddhism is not a religion; it's a way of thinking. Of the whole history of prophets, starting with Adam. Adam was a prophet, and going, the series from Noah to Ibrahim to Ismail or Ishmael to Moses to Jesus to Muhammad. As a Muslim, we are required to believe in all of them. The story of Jesus Christ and his birth and all of that, we've read it the day before yesterday, actually, and we're gonna read it in more details later, around the 15th day or 15th, 16th day of Ramadan, because it's been told many times. Quran and Islam has it all, but the thing is, as I was saying, Islam is 2 parts. Will you be streaming every day? Yeah, I will. And now that if I've been doing it because I'm gonna say something that might be considered, out there right now, but my wife was just telling me yesterday that she's watching my streams, and she's seeing that when I'm doing this part of the stream, it's 0 viewers, and I didn't reply to her because as Muslims we believe that it's not your responsibility to get the listeners or actually to force anyone to listen. It's your responsibility to share if you have the tools, if you have the means. And that's what I told my friends. My friend, one of my closest friends, is gonna be joining me tomorrow on the stream, reading Quran with me and explaining our thoughts together, actually. So by the way, you can call me Pedro or Peter if it's easier. Hey Pedro, how are you? It's my honor, bro. So yeah, I'll be here every day, inshallah, as much as I can. I'll be sharing as many thoughts as I can. And here, the thing I was just gonna repeat again: Islam is 2 parts. It's the Islam for the individual and the Islam for the society. Anyone who takes something out of its context, it's gonna be strange. It's gonna be, it doesn't gonna fit with their ideas. That's why what I'm trying to do here is to try to make it from scratch, to explain the concept of not spirituality, but the concept of God itself. So I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna recap here what I've just said in the past 5 days as fast as possible, just so you understand where I'm coming from. My own journey started with thinking, what is this? I have gotten as much wealth as any one of my peers would think that they want to get that wealth by their 50s or 60s, by living 6 years or something. I'm gonna share just one tidbit here. I'm sure you'll understand. I'm sharing these videos. I'll always try to be here as well. Sometimes I just need to hear what people have to say. I understand, and it's my honor, bro, and it's my honor. So when I got many things of what others try to chase in this life, that gave me some freedom and some time to think, all right, why am I not satisfied? Why do I think that there is something else I need to do? I'm not the only one who've done that. Any sane person, especially if you break free of the hamster wheel or the 9 to 5, or you have some energy in your mind and in your body to think, we all as humans are born with that. And that got me thinking, all right, let's assume that the life wasn't as it is right now. Let's assume that we get 100 people living on an island somewhere, and they start from scratch. They don't know anything about history. It has been done in many series, but let's try actually think about, that thought experiment. And that got me thinking about iterations. If we take that experiment and make it repeat as many times as needed, how will it end? That got me reading a whole lot into philosophy, and I've seen all the results, no good or bad will ever exist from us as humans. We tend to want to do good as humans. We are not born evil, But most of us are born stupid, born are wanting to argue. We are born with great ego. We are born with hunger. We are born with need. And out of that grows conflict. And out of conflict grows two point of views. And here we see evil and good, and what we call evil someone else will call good, and what we call good someone else will call evil. We needed guidance, we needed something that explains all of that. And here comes religion. Throughout history there have been prophets, many prophets, and as Muslims we believe that the number isn't known by anyone, but we know most of them, and it all starts with Adam. And throughout history every prophet was trying to explain to humanity, all right, you can never know how to exist and actually do something on this earth unless you learn. And as Muslims, the very first word in Islam, the very first word that was ever sent to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, our prophet, the last prophet there is, it was read. It was Iqra in Arabic, which translates to read in English. That was the very first word. Islam starts, the basic blocks of Islam starts by telling you, read, think, look around. Read, look around, think. And it keeps repeating and repeating and repeating. There is nothing in Islam that tells you in the very first basic blocks, do it as it is and don't ask. Actually, we are encouraged to ask more than anyone else, because that's how you're gonna learn. So that learning, that invitation to learn, was the first thing that was sent, and we've read actually in the first day, but I haven't explained that story then in the very first day of Ramadan because there was no time for it, but I'm explaining it now. The story of the creation of Adam, and how when God created Adam, the very first thing he blessed Adam with is the knowledge. I'm gonna read the ayah right now, which is وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا, which translates literally to, and God taught Adam the names of everything, the names to everything. And names here doesn't mean that a tree is a tree, or a sea is a sea, or a rock is a rock. No. The names means the knowledge. God gave Adam the knowledge. And that doesn't mean, I myself tend not to think about the things in its literal form. So I'm not thinking about he gave Adam the knowledge from microbiology or computer science or physics or whatever, anatomy. No. I think he gave Adam the knowledge of what to do and how to live in this life without going crazy. Because back then, okay, I've ate, I've married, I've lived. Now what? We needed to understand the concept of purpose, the concept of existence in this life. And that's what has been taught to Adam and has been taught to us throughout the prophets until we're here right now. And throughout the history, every prophet tries to relay that message to people around him. And what happens? People get this message, and this, we've read that in the Quran multiple times, and we're gonna read a whole lot again while we're going throughout the whole book, inshallah. So every prophet tells that to his people, and his people get that knowledge, and yay, we've gotten the most amazing knowledge ever. And the day after that, yesterday we've gotten the most amazing knowledge ever, but again I'm hungry today, so I'm gonna eat, but I think I can do better if I build a fence here. And someone else will say no, I'm gonna build a tree, and conflicts arise. And what happens when conflict arises? Ego gets in the picture. And what happens after that? It's the same story over and over and over and over. Until the last iteration of the message, which is Islam. Islam has been sent. It's not different from what Moses has been sent with, or what Jesus Christ has been sent with. It's the perfect. And that's actually how we are taught that. And what Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam tells us about, it's the perfect form. So some things of what Moses has been told is not in our book. Some things of what Jesus Christ has been told, it's not in our book. But what's in our book is the perfect form for what we are at right now. So for example, the concept of miracles. Throughout history and religion and all of that, many of those with the scientific way of thinking, sorry, putting it in between air quotes there, but because I consider myself one of them, the concept of miracles doesn't align with our way of thinking. No, why does and someone will say miracles have stopped happening after the invention of the camera or the way to record them. No. But actually, we are told that in the Quran that after the sending of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Quran, miracles should not and would not and doesn't need and don't need to be shown to us anymore, any longer. The Quran itself is the biggest miracle there is. Why? Because the human at the stage that we are at right now, we don't need to be shown as clearly as possible that there is a proof and a way for God, that here's a God. So for example, there is a story from Jesus Christ days where his people asked, please give us a proof that there is God. So actually Jesus Christ asks God, tell him, please give us a feast, send us a feast from the sky. Some things, and again, this is it's written in Arabic, but it can be translated in many ways. I don't think about it in the literal form, but let's even think about it in the literal form. A feast has been sent to his people from the sky. This is as clear as possible. Something, something that made his people just stand in awe. And God tells us that even after that, they differed. They, again, argued. They kept thinking, oh, but what if? Because here is the thing. Us as humans, we don't need to be shown. What will we be shown more than what we're seeing right now? Imagine if us as humans, we didn't have the gift of sight. Imagine if we've never had the gift of sight. And then suddenly we all got the gift of sight. Oh, that's a sign. No one else can ever give the gift of sight other than God. Well, but because we had it since our birth, we never thought that we can never get it, It's something, let's assume that right now we can live in the fourth dimension, go through walls and stuff like that. Then, yay, this is a sign. Everything around us is a miracle if we actually think about it in its, its own existence. But as humans, we tend to be, tend to overlook. We tend to look but not see. This is what we are taught actually. So, Quran and Islam is a practical way of living in life in its current form that's not gonna change, and we are taught that. And actually, this is anyone who studied Islam and Quran understands that it didn't change. I've been reading that, as I said, since I was a child. This book is now it has been sent to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than 1400 years ago, and it didn't need to change at all. And it's the literal word, by the way. So this is the only book, the Quran is the only book that hasn't been changed. There is no Bible. Sorry for that if Christianity, if that can offend someone. But again, Bible has been written by human beings. Anyone who studied Christianity understands that Bible wasn't sent from God. No. Bible has been written by human beings, and that gets many people out of Christianity. And there is no book that was the 10 Commandments that have been sent to Moses, alayhi salam, and we believe in Moses. They haven't gotten to anyone after that. They have been lost because of the conflict that happened back then, and this is explained in the Quran. But the Quran is the literal word and hasn't been changed. And the whole science, if you're as a computer scientist, you understand the blockchain concept. It's the same concept of a blockchain. You know how the verification in the blockchain happens. So no one can ever change anything in the blockchain unless they can change 51% of the blockchain. It's the same concept, but it was more than 1400 years ago, and throughout that, it's called in Islam ilm rijal, or in the Islamic history ilm rijal, or the science of men. How it has been verified throughout the years until right now we have it. So sorry for that long rant there, but I was just trying to explain as much as I can. Actually, and again, my apologies if I'm not able to do it as best as it could, but hopefully I've done as much as I can. So, mashallah, thank you so much for your words. I have to work more and it's getting late here. So again, thank you. Thank you so much. Again, sorry if that was too long. I understand. Please feel free to go about your day right now. I will continue reading, inshallah, and you can find me streaming here, and everything is documented on YouTube. So I broadcast or move those videos, VODs, on YouTube. There are in a series, you will find it on YouTube. Sorry if you're gonna find it among other videos about games and stuff like that, but you will find it on YouTube. See you, bro. Inshallah. I'm gonna continue reading now. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإن خفتم شقاق بينهما فابعثوا حكما من أهله وحكما من أهلها إن يريدا إصلاحا يوفق الله بينهما إن الله كان عليما خبيرا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. I'm reading. No, it was perfectly fine. I might stick around for a bit. Hope you have a great one. Thank you, bro. Thank you so much. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. واعبدوا الله ولا تشركوا به شيئا وبالوالدين إحسانا وبذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين والجار ذي القربى والجار الجنب والصاحب بالجنب وابن السبيل وما ملكت أيمانكم إن الله لا يحب من كان مختالا فخورا الذين يبخلون ويأمرون الناس بالبخل ويكتمون ما آتاهم الله من فضله وأعتدنا للكافرين عذابا مهينا والذين ينفقون أموالهم رئاء الناس ولا يؤمنون بالله ولا باليوم الآخر ومن يكن الشيطان له قرينا فساء قرينا وماذا عليهم لو آمنوا بالله واليوم الآخر وأنفقوا مما رزقهم الله وكان الله بهم عليما إن الله لا يظلم مثقال ذرة وإن تك حسنة يضاعفها ويؤتي من يشاء وإن تك حسنة يضاعفها ويؤتي من لدنه أجرا عظيما فكيف إذا جئنا من كل أمة بشهيد وجئنا بك على هؤلاء شهيدا يومئذ يود الذين كفروا وعصوا الرسول لو تسوى بهم الأرض يومئذ يود الذين كفروا وعصوا الرسول لو تسوى بهم الأرض ولا يكتمون الله حديثا يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى حتى تعلموا ما تقولون ولا جنبا إلا عابري سبيل حتى تغتسلوا وإن كنتم مرضى أو على سفر أو جاء أحد منكم من الغائط أو لامستم النساء فلم تجدوا ماء فتيمموا صعيدا طيبا فامسحوا بوجوهكم وأيديكم إن الله كان عفوا غفورا ألم تر إلى الذين أوتوا نصيبا من الكتاب يشترون الضلالة ويريدون أن تضلوا السبيل والله أعلم بأعدائكم وكفى بالله وليا وكفى بالله نصيرا من الذين هادوا يحرفون الكلم عن مواضعه ويقولون سمعنا وعصينا واسمع غير مسمع وراعنا ليا بألسنتهم وطعنا في الدين ولو أنهم قالوا سمعنا وأطعنا واسمع وانظرنا لكان خيرا لهم وأقوم ولكن لعنهم الله بكفرهم فلا يؤمنون إلا قليلا يا أيها الذين أوتوا الكتاب آمنوا بما نزلنا مصدقا لما معكم من قبل أن نطمس وجوها فنردها على أدبارها أو نلعنهم كما لعنا أصحاب السبت وكان أمر الله مفعولا إن الله لا يغفر أن يشرك به ويغفر ما دون ذلك لمن يشاء ومن يشرك بالله فقد افترى إثما عظيما ألم تر إلى الذين يزكون أنفسهم بل الله يزكي من يشاء ولا يظلمون فتيلا انظر كيف يفترون على الله الكذب وكفى به إثما مبينا ألم تر إلى الذين أوتوا نصيبا من الكتاب يؤمنون بالجبت والطاغوت ويقولون للذين كفروا هؤلاء أهدى من الذين آمنوا سبيلا أولئك الذين لعنهم الله ومن يلعن الله فلن تجد له نصيرا أم لهم نصيب من الملك فإذا لا يؤتون الناس نقيرا أم يحسدون الناس على ما آتاهم الله من فضله فقد آتينا آل إبراهيم الكتاب والحكمة وآتيناهم ملكا عظيما فمنهم من آمن به ومنهم من صد عنه وكفى بجهنم سعيرا إن الذين كفروا بآياتنا سوف نصليهم نارا كلما نضجت جلودهم بدلناهم جلودا غيرها ليذوقوا العذاب إن الله كان عزيزا حكيما والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات سندخلهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا لهم فيها أزواج مطهرة وندخلهم ظلا ظليلا إن الله يأمركم أن تؤدوا الأمانات إلى أهلها وإذا حكمتم بين الناس أن تحكموا بالعدل إن الله نعم ما يعظكم به إن الله كان سميعا بصيرا يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا ألم تر إلى الذين يزعمون أنهم آمنوا بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك يريدون أن يتحاكموا إلى الطاغوت وقد أمروا أن يكفروا به ويريد الشيطان أن يضلهم ضلالا بعيدا وإذا قيل لهم تعالوا إلى ما أنزل الله وإلى الرسول رأيت المنافقين يصدون عنك صدودا فكيف إذا أصابتهم مصيبة بما قدمت أيديهم ثم جاءوك يحلفون بالله إن أردنا إلا إحسانا وتوفيقا أولئك الذين يعلم الله ما في قلوبهم فأعرض عنهم وعظهم وقل لهم في أنفسهم قولا بليغا وما أرسلنا من رسول إلا ليطاع بإذن الله ولو أنهم إذ ظلموا أنفسهم جاءوك فاستغفروا الله واستغفر لهم الرسول لوجدوا الله توابا رحيما فلا وربك لا يؤمنون حتى يحكموك فيما شجر بينهم ثم لا يجدوا في أنفسهم حرجا مما قضيت ويسلموا تسليما ولو أنا كتبنا عليهم أن اقتلوا أنفسكم أو يخرجوا من دياركم ما فعلوه إلا قليل منهم ولو أنهم فعلوا ما يوعظون به لكان خيرا لهم وأشد تثبيتا وإذا لأتيناهم من لدنا أجرا عظيما ولهديناهم صراطا مستقيما ومن يطع الله والرسول فأولئك مع الذين أنعم الله عليهم من النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن أولئك رفيقا ذلك الفضل من الله وكفى بالله عليما صدق الله العلي العظيم. So let me try to, again, what I'm doing is not explaining, guys. I am not even equipped to do that right now at any way. I'm just sharing my thoughts. That's, 0.00001% of what's here, or maybe much, much less. But what I'm taking out of all of that while reading, as I said, there is the Islam for the individual, the Islam for society, and it's at its most wonderful if you can be a Muslim individual in a Muslim society. And if you are in a Muslim society, then what do you do? How do you live? And most of the messages in the Quran, it's this how most of us, or most of those who read the Quran, can understand it. There are chapters in the Quran which are called Surah Makkiyah, or those verses or of the Quran that were sent to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was still in Mecca. So when he was in Mecca, that the story of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is an amazing story, and I would love if I do that. I might actually do that. I'm thinking about it right now. A whole separate series where I explain it myself. But the story, as quickly as possible, when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent the message, he was still living in Mecca, and he was a very honest man. He was respected by everyone, but he didn't have any authority or any power to force anyone to do anything. He was just a normal man. He was known that he never lies. He was an amazing human being, but we as Muslims, we believe that he was the most amazing human being ever. But I understand that this claim cannot be right now. We have been trained to be suspicious of anyone who has that claim by his name. But just to understand, when he got the message, he didn't have any authority. So most of what was sent to him, it wasn't about how a society should function. It was about how an individual should be, because he was living in a non-Muslim society. And when Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam got to this point where he had enough people around him that they needed to live by the Islam's way of life. Again, it's not Sharia law here, guys. This is, this scarecrow here, or those words that have been used to terrify anyone of what Islam is. it's actually, it's ironic for us as Muslims, because Sharia law is but anyway. So when they had enough people and they needed to be in their own society, they all migrated from Mecca to another place which called Al-Madinah, or which translates to the city. And those places are in right now in Saudi Arabia, and it's about 500 kilometers between both of them. So they migrated to Al-Madinah, and there they now become living in a new place, and they needed to have a society. So how would a society function? And this is why Islam is so amazing and so great. I consider myself to be a follower of what's happening in the United States, and the whole thing with Constitution, and how it's considered the most holy book in there, because it was written by the founding fathers, and they were amazing because they thought of everything and all of that. The reason that that Constitution is amazing is not because it's amazing, no, because it gained its power from everyone who followed it and tried to actually uphold its power. That's how United States became great back then. But it was needed. There was no society without a constitution, a way of living, some rules, some guidance for all of society. And this is the blessing of the Quran here, that actually our constitution is the Quran, because right now we can see something as simple as gun control, for example. If we talk about gun control, you can never find a topic that is as clear as that and as dividing as that, because both points of views are really true. If no one has any guns, you wouldn't have those mass shootings. But at the same point, how do you know that the United States at any point will not have to defend itself by itself? This is why everyone thinks that I should have my own gun, because at any point I should be able to defend myself and defend my whole society. And again, because no one rule exists in a vacuum. It all exists and coexists with each other. What I've read right now, that number here, that's 70, so we're 70 verses into that chapter that we're reading right now, or that surah, that's again called the Women. It talks a whole lot about the society and how we live in that society. As you can see, I'm not going into details. I'm just talking about why those are important, but how exactly that society should be living is not for me, guys. There are actually scholars who are dedicated to that, and they've studied it at length. And here's the thing: they don't have any power like those, Supreme Court judges. No. Islam doesn't have that. Islam doesn't have manhood. It doesn't have supreme judges. No. Everyone, as Muslims, we understand that everyone, if you understand just one verse, go. Come on, be a contributing part of society and actually stand and argue and ask and try to exist. But at the same point, if you don't understand really well that verse, then don't try to, talk about it, and don't try to force your point of view if your point of view is lacking. I just try to explain the importance of rules here, because what we're living in right now is, again, ruleless and logicless society. The only thing that is being measured right now is money, and only money. And if you're getting money, then you can do whatever. And anyone with an iota of logic can understand how crazy that is. And this is why most of what I've read right now talks about actually that concept: how you manage wealth, your own wealth. What do you do with it? And all of that is written in the surah that is named Women, because women are the basic block of the society. You cannot have a society if you don't know how to form the basic block of the society, which is the family. And this is all what I've just read so far. So again, I didn't actually say anything in what I read. I just talked about what I read right now. And it's translated, guys, so you can follow and ask me at any point and leave the comments on YouTube if you want to do that, and hopefully I'll be able to reply to the best of my ability. So I'm gonna continue right now. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. First, I'm gonna drink. Only 9 minutes to Fajr prayer, so I need to drink because I'm fasting. So, Bismillah. So yeah, if you guys don't know, as Muslims, we fast Ramadan from sun up to sundown, all day, as long from the moment the sun comes up to the moment the sun goes down, we fast. That means no food, no water, no marital relationships, and those are the way the body fasts. But we are also encouraged and instructed to fast with our minds and our souls. And the way that we fast with our minds and our souls is not by stopping, not thinking about sex, for example, or anything. That's not how the mind works. The mind fasts by actually fasting from what. So the concept of fasting is going away or getting away from what you think you need to survive. Our body needs food, water, and sex to survive. What is it that our brain needs, thinks that it needs to survive? Achievement, success, money, wealth, power. Those are the things that you are encouraged to fast. That doesn't mean be a lazy person. No. That means rethink about those concepts. What does it mean to be a successful person? So, I am an engineer. Again, I always thought that success means being the best engineer that is. Nah, that's not it. Anyone who got it actually knows that it's not it. If you got the title of the best at any field that you are in this life, you understand that that's not what you're actually wanting. But your mind tricks you that this is what you want. Wealth. Whoever got wealth understands that, yeah, that's not it. Power. That's not it. So for you to live this life a healthy way, you need to understand that those things that you live all day, every day, thinking that they are your North Star. No, they're actually your not North Star. You need them. Yes. To survive. You need parts of them, a little bit of them to survive. But they shouldn't enslave you. The same way that food and water and sex shouldn't enslave your body. Now, what about your soul? What does your soul need? In Islam, we are told that no one actually knows. So there is a verse in the Quran. I'm gonna read it in Arabic right now, then translate it. وَإِنِّي أَسْأَلُكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلْ إِنَّمَا الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. So that translates to, if they ask you about the soul, say it's a matter of God's knowledge. Only God knows about the soul. And yes, we don't know what the soul is, but we are taught and we've learned in Islam things around it that teaches a little bit, about what it is, but actually don't know what it is. If you start studying it, you're gonna understand what I mean, but let me explain, give an example here. We understand that we, as humans, have the power to either tarnish our soul, make it a dirty soul, or actually clean it and make it a clean, healthy soul. And the way that we do that is by controlling both the body and mind. We can't control our soul, but we can control the shell that our soul inhabits. So, we struggle by stopping ourselves from eating and drinking in Ramadan's day. But what if we do? I'm here in my office by myself. And even as children, no one will even know if I just got a sip of water, just a sip, to ease, because if I've lived in the desert for a year, and I've fasted in the desert and in the sun. No one would have known. I would have known. I would have known that I've become weak back then. And that knowledge, that it's not shame, guys. It's just admitting to myself that, yeah, I couldn't do it. I was able to survive, but yeah, I couldn't do it. Thanks God I didn't. But I know the feeling of shame because, again, I was an addict to anime and video games, and all day, every day, we face those moments of weakness. Here's the Fajr Adhan right now. Allahu Akbar, Allah Azam. So, by controlling our choices, we control the result of how our soul ends up. And exactly like with gym, going to the gym. You can't control how your body looks like, but you can control your actions. And if you are consistent with your actions by going to the gym 2 years, 3 years, then you're gonna see how it looks, and you're gonna find a good body to look at the mirror, and strong body and capable body. This is the same for me. Every day I struggle. But 3 years later, oh wow, I am able to live without many things that I thought I'm not gonna be able to live with in life. And here's the thing, most important, it's more than just being able to give up things. No. It's being content, happy, confident when I know that I'm not the best. Because chasing the title of the best was never what I should do from the beginning. Some are the best, and for some being the best is a blessing, and for some it's a curse. I know that when I got the title of the best at many fields in life, this wasn't my thing. It's like I wanna not use video game terminology here, but it's exactly like playing a game of team fight tactics, for example. If you try to force a certain combination that you're just not getting, you're gonna get that combination, but you're not gonna win the game. But if you learn to flow, do with what you get, because I've had that in my life. More than 14 years ago, when I first studied, when I wasn't back in college, so I was studying communications and electronics, studying technology, and I was watching everything about Palo Alto and Silicon Valley on the internet, and I was thinking, why haven't I been born there? If I was born there, wow, I would have been amazing. I would have built so many startups. I would have done such and such and such. Because back then, I couldn't even get an Arduino chip to Egypt because of the customs, and it wasn't easy with the shipments and all of that. So I used to struggle with that. But, yeah, I could have tried to force it. But I've adapted. I decided, all right, if I'm not gonna be able to do that, let me study something I can do online, like programming back then and development. This example here is something that we need to learn to adapt all day, every day with everything in life. So, for example, if I'm not the most handsome, if I'm not the strongest, if I'm not the anything of what our mind chases every day, and I have ADHD, so my mind chases everything, and I need to understand how to adapt with everything. Again, that doesn't mean giving up on your ambition. No, that's a whole different thing. That means utilizing your ambition, utilizing that energy in you to chase things, to actually guide it, not be guided by it. So this is a concept in fasting that I myself try to utilize in Ramadan, because it's easy for me to give up food. It's really easy for me to give up food. It's really easy for me. It's a little bit harder for me, than food. But again, I can easily give up water for 12 hours or 16 hours, depending on how many hours I have to fast. I can, of course, wait until the night to have relations with my wife. But it's really hard for me to give up chasing. As you can see, if you were watching my streams, you know that I get addicted to a video game. Then I want to play a game, and after game, trying to get those LP points, get the higher rank. And I've been watching a whole lot of Valorant, so I'm gonna be playing Valorant more. And now, while I'm learning more about it, but I keep reminding myself to control that. And yeah, that made me a much happier person now. So yeah, those are a little bit of my thoughts. I'm gonna continue now reading. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا خذوا حذركم فانفروا ثبات أو انفروا جميعا وإن منكم لمن ليبطئن فإن أصابتكم مصيبة قال قد أنعم الله علي إذ لم أكن معهم شهيدا ولئن أصابكم فضل من الله ليقولن كأن لم تكن بينكم وبينه مودة يا ليتني كنت معهم فأفوز فوزا عظيما. فليقاتل في سبيل الله الذين يشرون الحياة الدنيا بالآخرة، ومن يقاتل في سبيل الله فيقتل أو يغلب فسوف نؤتيه أجرا عظيما. وما لكم لا تقاتلون في سبيل الله والمستضعفين من الرجال والنساء والولدان الذين يقولون ربنا أخرجنا من هذه القرية الظالم أهلها واجعل لنا من لدنك وليا واجعل لنا من لدنك نصيرا. الذين آمنوا يقاتلون في سبيل الله والذين كفروا يقاتلون في سبيل الطاغوت فقاتلوا أولياء الشيطان إن كيد الشيطان كان ضعيفا. ألم تر إلى الذين قيل لهم كفوا أيديكم وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة فلما كتب عليهم القتال إذا فريق منهم يخشون الناس كخشية الله أو أشد خشية وقالوا ربنا لم كتبت علينا القتال لولا أخرتنا إلى أجل قريب قل متاع الدنيا قليل والآخرة خير لمن اتقى ولا تظلمون فتيلا. أينما تكونوا يدرككم الموت ولو كنتم في بروج مشيدة وإن تصبهم حسنة يقولوا هذه من عند الله وإن تصبهم سيئة يقولوا هذه من عندك قل كل من عند الله فما لهؤلاء القوم لا يكادون يفقهون حديثا. ما أصابك من حسنة فمن الله وما أصابك من سيئة فمن نفسك وأرسلناك للناس رسولا وكفى بالله شهيدا. من يطع الرسول فقد أطاع الله ومن تولى فما أرسلناك عليهم حفيظا. ويقولون طاعة فإذا برزوا من عندك بيت طائفة منهم غير الذي تقول والله يكتب ما يبيتون فأعرض عنهم وتوكل على الله وكفى بالله وكيلا. أفلا يتدبرون القرآن ولو كان من عند غير الله لوجدوا فيه اختلافا كثيرا. وإذا جاءهم أمر من الأمن أو الخوف أذاعوا به ولو ردوه إلى الرسول وإلى أولي الأمر منهم لعلمه الذين يستنبطونه منهم ولولا فضل الله عليكم ورحمته لاتبعتم الشيطان إلا قليلا. فقاتل في سبيل الله لا تكلف إلا نفسك وحرض المؤمنين عسى الله أن يكف بأس الذين كفروا والله أشد بأسا وأشد تنكيلا. من يشفع شفاعة حسنة يكن له نصيب منها ومن يشفع شفاعة سيئة يكن له كفل منها وكان الله على كل شيء مقيتا. وإذا حييتم بتحية فحيوا بأحسن منها أو ردوها إن الله كان على كل شيء حسيبا. الله لا إله إلا هو لا يجمعنكم إلى يوم القيامة لا ريب فيه ومن أصدق من الله حديثا. فما لكم في المنافقين فئتين والله أركسهم بما كسبوا أتريدون أن تهدوا من أضل الله ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا. ودوا لو تكفرون كما كفروا فتكونون سواء فلا تتخذوا منهم أولياء حتى يهاجروا في سبيل الله فإن تولوا فخذوهم وقتلوهم حيث وجدتموهم ولا تتخذوا منهم وليا ولا نصيرا إلا الذين يصلون إلى قوم بينكم وبينهم ميثاق أو جاءوكم حصرت صدورهم أن يقاتلوكم أو يقاتلوا قومهم ولو شاء الله لسلطهم عليكم فلقاتلوكم فإن اعتزلوكم فلم يقاتلوكم وألقوا إليكم السلم فما جعل الله لكم عليهم سبيلا. ستجدون آخرين يريدون أن يأمنوكم ويأمنوا قومهم كلما ردوا إلى الفتنة أركسوا فيها فإن لم يعتزلوكم ويلقوا إليكم السلم ويكفوا أيديهم فخذوهم وقتلوهم حيث ثقفتموهم وأولئكم جعلنا لكم عليهم سلطانا مبينا. وما كان لمؤمن أن يقتل مؤمنا إلا خطأ ومن قتل مؤمنا خطأ فتحرير رقبة مؤمنة ودية مسلمة إلى أهله إلا أن يصدقوا فإن كان من قوم عدو لكم وهو مؤمن فتحرير رقبة مؤمنة، وإن كان من قوم بينكم وبينهم ميثاق فدية مسلمة إلى أهله وتحرير رقبة مؤمنة، فمن لم يجد فصيام شهرين متتابعين توبة من الله، وكان الله عليما حكيما. ومن يقتل مؤمنا متعمدا فجزاؤه جهنم خالدا فيها وغضب الله عليه ولعنه وأعد له عذابا عظيما. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا ضربتم في سبيل الله فتبينوا ولا تقولوا لمن ألقى إليكم السلام لست مؤمنا تبتغون عرض الحياة الدنيا فعند الله مغانم كثيرة كذلك كنتم من قبل فمن الله عليكم فتبينوا إن الله كان بما تعملون خبيرا. لا يستوي القاعدون من المؤمنين غير أولي الضرر والمجاهدون في سبيل الله بأموالهم وأنفسهم فضل الله المجاهدين بأموالهم وأنفسهم على القاعدين درجة وكلا وعد الله الحسنى وفضل الله المجاهدين على القاعدين أجرا عظيما درجات منه ومغفرة ورحمة وكان الله غفورا رحيما. إن الذين توفاهم الملائكة ظالمي أنفسهم قالوا فيما كنتم قالوا كنا مستضعفين في الأرض قالوا ألم تكن أرض الله واسعة فتهاجروا فيها فأولئك مأواهم جهنم وساءت مصيرا إلا المستضعفين من الرجال والنساء والولدان لا يستطيعون حيلة ولا يهتدون سبيلا فأولئك عسى الله أن يعفو عنهم وكان الله عفوا غفورا. ومن يهاجر في سبيل الله يجد في الأرض مراغما كثيرا وسعة ومن يخرج من بيته مهاجرا إلى الله ورسوله ثم يدركه الموت فقد وقع أجره على الله وكان الله غفورا رحيما. وإذا ضربتم في الأرض فليس عليكم جناح أن تقصروا من الصلاة إن خفتم أن يفتنكم الذين كفروا إن الكافرين كانوا لكم عدوا مبينا. وإذا كنت فيهم فأقمت لهم الصلاة فلتقم طائفة منهم معك وليأخذوا أسلحتهم فإذا سجدوا فليكونوا من ورائكم ولتأت طائفة أخرى لم يصلوا فليصلوا معك وليأخذوا حذرهم وأسلحتهم ود الذين كفروا لو تغفلون عن أسلحتكم وأمتعتكم فيميلوا عليكم ميلة واحدة ولا جناح عليكم إن كان بكم أذى من مطر أو كنتم مرضى أن تضعوا أسلحتكم وخذوا حذركم إن الله أعد للكافرين عذابا مهينا. فإذا قضيتم الصلاة فاذكروا الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبكم فإذا اطمأننتم فأقيموا الصلاة إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا موقوتا ولا تهنوا في ابتغاء القوم إن تكونوا تألمون فإنهم يألمون كما تألمون وترجون من الله ما لا يرجون وكان الله عليما حكيما. صدق الله العلي العظيم. I have a call. Alright, I'm back. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلنا إليك الكتاب بالحق لتحكم بين الناس بما أراك الله ولا تكن للخائنين خصيما واستغفر الله إن الله كان غفورا رحيما. ولا تجادل عن الذين يختانون أنفسهم إن الله لا يحب من كان خوانا أثيما. يستخفون من الناس ولا يستخفون من الله وهو معهم إذ يبيتون ما لا يرضى من القول وكان الله بما يعملون محيطا. ها أنتم هؤلاء جادلتم عنهم في الحياة الدنيا فمن يجادل الله عنهم يوم القيامة أم من يكون عليهم وكيلا. ومن يعمل سوءا أو يظلم نفسه ثم يستغفر الله يجد الله غفورا رحيما. ومن يكسب إثما فإنما يكسبه على نفسه وكان الله عليما حكيما. ومن يكسب خطيئة أو إثما ثم يرم به بريئا فقد احتمل بهتانا وإثما مبينا. ولولا فضل الله عليك ورحمته لهمت طائفة منهم أن يضلوك وما يضلون إلا أنفسهم وما يضرونك من شيء وأنزل الله عليك الكتاب والحكمة وعلمك ما لم تكن تعلم وكان فضل الله عليك عظيما. لا خير في كثير من نجواهم إلا من أمر بصدقة أو معروف أو إصلاح بين الناس ومن يفعل ذلك ابتغاء مرضات الله فسوف نؤتيه أجرا عظيما. ومن يشاقق الرسول من بعد ما تبين له الهدى ويتبع غير سبيل المؤمنين نوله ما تولى ونصله جهنم وساءت مصيرا. إن الله لا يغفر أن يشرك به ويغفر ما دون ذلك لمن يشاء ومن يشرك بالله فقد ضل ضلالا بعيدا. إن يدعون من دونه إلا إناثا وإن يدعون إلا شيطانا مريدا لعنه الله وقال لأتخذن من عبادك نصيبا مفروضا. ولأضلنهم ولأمنينهم ولأمرنهم فليبتكن آذان الأنعام ولأمرنهم فليغيرن خلق الله ومن يتخذ الشيطان وليا من دون الله فقد خسر خسرانا مبينا. يعدهم ويمنيهم وما يعدهم الشيطان إلا غرورا. أولئك مأواهم جهنم ولا يجدون عنها محيصا. والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات سندخلهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا وعد الله حقا ومن أصدق من الله قيلا. ليس بأمانيكم ولا أماني أهل الكتاب من يعمل سوءا يجز به ولا يجد له من دون الله وليا ولا نصيرا. ومن يعمل من الصالحات من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فأولئك يدخلون الجنة ولا يظلمون نقيرا. ومن أحسن دينا ممن أسلم وجهه لله وهو محسن واتبع ملة إبراهيم حنيفا واتخذ الله إبراهيم خليلا. ولله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وكان الله بكل شيء محيطا. ويستفتونك في النساء قل الله يفتيكم فيهن وما يتلى عليكم في الكتاب في يتامى النساء اللاتي لا تؤتونهن ما كتب لهن وترغبون أن تنكحوهن والمستضعفين من الولدان وأن تقوموا لليتامى بالقسط وما تفعلوا من خير فإن الله كان به عليما. وإن امرأة خافت من بعلها نشوزا أو إعراضا فلا جناح عليهما أن يصلحا بينهما صلحا والصلح خير وأحضرت الأنفس الشح وإن تحسنوا وتتقوا فإن الله كان بما تعملون خبيرا. ولن تستطيعوا أن تعدلوا بين النساء ولو حرصتم فلا تميلوا كل الميل فتذروها كالمعلقة وإن تصلحوا وتتقوا فإن الله كان غفورا رحيما. وإن يتفرقا يغني الله كلا من سعته وكان الله واسعا حكيما. ولله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض ولقد وصينا الذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلكم وإياكم أن اتقوا الله وإن تكفروا فإن لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وكان الله غنيا حميدا. ولله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وكفى بالله وكيلا. إن يشأ يذهبكم أيها الناس ويأتي بآخرين وكان الله على ذلك قديرا. من كان يريد ثواب الدنيا فعند الله ثواب الدنيا والآخرة وكان الله سميعا بصيرا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين إن يك غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أولى بهما فلا تتبعوا الهوى أن تعدلوا وإن تلووا أو تعرضوا فإن الله كان بما تعملون خبيرا يا أيها الذين آمنوا بالله ورسوله والكتاب الذي نزل على رسوله والكتاب الذي أنزل من قبل ومن يكفر بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر فقد ضل ضلالا بعيدا إن الذين آمنوا ثم كفروا ثم آمنوا ثم كفروا ثم ازدادوا كفرا لم يكن الله ليغفر لهم ولا ليهديهم سبيلا بشر المنافقين بأن لهم عذابا أليما الذين يتخذون الكافرين أولياء من دون المؤمنين أيبتغون عندهم العزة فإن العزة لله جميعا وقد نزل عليكم في الكتاب أن إذا سمعتم آيات الله يكفر بها ويستهزأ بها فلا تقعدوا معهم حتى يخوضوا في حديث غيره إنكم إذا مثلهم إن الله جامع المنافقين والكافرين في جهنم جميعا الذين يتربصون بكم فإن كان لكم فتح من الله قالوا ألم نكن معكم وإن كان للكافرين نصيب قالوا ألم نستحوذ عليكم ونمنعكم من المؤمنين فالله يحكم بينكم يوم القيامة ولن يجعل الله للكافرين على المؤمنين سبيلا إن المنافقين يخادعون الله وهو خادعهم وإذا قاموا إلى الصلاة قاموا كسالى يراءون الناس ولا يذكرون الله إلا قليلا مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا الكافرين أولياء من دون المؤمنين أتريدون أن تجعلوا لله عليكم سلطانا مبينا إن المنافقين في الدرك الأسفل من النار ولن تجد لهم نصيرا إلا الذين تابوا وأصلحوا واعتصموا بالله وأخلصوا دينهم لله فأولئك مع المؤمنين وسوف يؤتي الله المؤمنين أجرا عظيما ما يفعل الله بعذابكم إن شكرتم وآمنتم وكان الله شاكرا عليما. صدق الله العظيم. So, sorry that was longer than the past days, but hey, come on. What is time? You know? That was the 5th chapter of the Quran. I really love it, guys. There are parts in the Quran that I really love. I feel that I'm really enjoying it while I'm reading. For many reasons. It talks to me, it answers questions that I have or had, or questions that I remembered recently. And this is the thing, I actually explained that concept here in video games earlier. I've been streaming for 3 months now. Which is, so actually let me end with that, guys. So I've been playing Valorant for more than 2 months now. And the way that I've started playing Valorant is, I've just got in the game, and you already can see it on YouTube, alright? I got in the game not knowing anything, I haven't watched any videos, and as raw as possible. Got in the game, and struggled, and for more than 2 months, I've been struggling with Valorant. After 3 days of trying that, only 3 days, I've opened YouTube on stream and typed how to play Valorant or, Valorant knowledge or anything like that, and I've watched a couple of videos and I didn't understand anything. I've been watching those videos for, when I've watched those videos when you guys saw me after 3 or 4 days from starting Valorant. Actually, it's on stream. It's on YouTube right now in the first Valorant series, and I didn't know. I was watching the answers, but I didn't have the questions. It's the same. Throughout my life, throughout my life and throughout our lives, we grow and we have different questions. And when I was 12, 13 years old, I've read the Quran for the first time by myself, I remember. And I got some questions for some answers that I had back then. Back then I used to, comb my hair and really care if just one hair was out of place, and as you can see now, I just shave it all. So I'm a different person. And as I grew, I am 35 years old now, 35, 36. So imagine, how many questions. And every time I come back to the Quran and I read it, I get new answers for new questions. Although I've been reading it since I was 12 and 13 years old. And the reason I'm remembering that now is because in the past couple of days, I started watching Valorant videos again on YouTube for tips and tricks and knowledge. And now, every time I see the same videos that I've seen 2 months ago. Oh, no. Now I get it. Yes, now I know why I should strafe this way. Now I know why I should use Killjoy like that and use Euro like that and use Sky like that. This is difference. Sometimes reading the answers without actually having the questions in you doesn't make you understand the questions. Sometimes reading the answers first will not get you anything until you actually face the question and then you will understand. So this is why every time I read the Quran, I'm enjoying it more and more and in new ways because the questions in my life are different. So I'm gonna take a break right now, go pray Fajr, and come back later, and it's gonna be Valorant